Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about Progressive 444 series shocks for Harley. You should be looking into a 444 shock if you are looking to get a little better ride, a little better handling out of your Harley. These are available for every single Harley family right now, with fitments as far back even into the shovel era. So there should be a 444 available for your bike. Use our bike finder and we'll make sure that we get the ones that are going to fit on your particular sled. Installation of these is not really that difficult. You're looking at about a 2-beard installation. It's easy to actually get the shocks on there, but you might need some specialized equipment. We'll talk about that in just a sec. The 444 is Progressive's step-up shock. This shock offers a little bit of adjustability. These are really constructed in a way that's going to make your ride better. Let's kind of break it down a little bit and see exactly what technology it is that's in here that's going to make this thing, superior to a factory OEM shock. So first things first, the thing you can't see is this is a monotube shock. Twin tube shocks, which are usually the standard, tend to be not so great at keeping the fluid cool and keeping it from bubbling that's inside the shock. A monotube differs in that it keeps the fluid less aerated and it cools it faster. Fluid in a shock that is not foamy and is not hot tends to work better in terms of valving. Speaking of valving, this uses what Progressive calls FST, their frequency sensing technology. And effectively what that means in a very simple way is that inside here the valving is constructed in such a way that the shock can react dynamically. So it's going to react differently to small bumps than it will to big teeth clickers that you may be running over. That also brings me to the spring. So Progressive's big claim to fame is the fact that they use Progressive springs. So those of you who aren't super familiar with spring and suspension technology, let me give you a fast crash course. A factory OEM shock has what they call straight rate springs, and that means the distance between all the coils is the same. So every time a coil binds up and slams into another coil, the whole shock reacts the same regardless of the size of the bump that you're hitting. A Progressive spring is actually a little bit different. If you'll notice too, they're wound kind of tighter as you hit the bottom of the shock. So what that means is the springs up at the top of the shock allow the shock to handle a small bump very well. It'll leave you with a plush ride and it's not going to get all crazy. However, if you do happen to hit, again, one of those big teeth clickers, one of those ones where it feels like your kidney's going to come out, the coils at the end of the spring that are more tightly wound tend to resist that particular road shock with a little bit more force. So you have effectively a shock and spring assembly that's going to deal well with both small bumps and give a plush ride, but it's also going to deal well with the big hits and not going to leave your spine killing you at the end of things. The other nifty part about this is the adjustability. So you can see here on this threaded section, the preload is totally adjustable on these shocks. Now I think my only nit to pick with the 444 is that Progressive says that these things are a toolless adjustment. They're technically correct. I had taken a set of these out and I was able to adjust the preload on these without any tools. However, I'm a really big guy and I have pretty strong hands. I could definitely see a rider who's maybe not as large or not as strong having trouble adjusting these on the fly. So that might be something to think about if you do wind up with a set of 444s. You're going to probably want to get your preload adjustment dialed in before you roll out on the road. It might be difficult to do when you're actually underway. So installation-wise, we had talked earlier about how this is a 2-beard installation. It's really not hard to install shocks. It's really just 4 bolts and you're set to fly. The only thing is we bump it up into the 2-beard category for 2 reasons. Firstly, you're going to need some way to unload the suspension of the bike. For most of you, that means you probably want to have a bike jack. You need to get that rear end up so you can actually get the shocks off of the motorcycle. The second thing to think about too is because these come in different lengths, some of you guys are going to grab these and you're going to try and slam the bike down, and that's totally fine. But when you change that rear ride height, keep in mind it's going to change your trail measurement some. So what you may find is that you don't like how the bike handles after you slam the rear of the bike down or perhaps raise it up. Your trail might change and the bike might not handle in a way that you like. So you may wind up going back and having to do some front suspension work as well. So that's why we're bumping that just up into that 2 category. I think Progressive's got a real winner with the 444. They're good looking, and that jump up to a Progressive spring makes all the difference in the world in terms of ride and in terms of your handling. Click below, check out some other riders who already have a set of these, think about them, see if I'm not fibbing to you. If you have some questions that we haven't answered, get a hold of us. See us at RevZilla.com, or you can always get us by phone, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy, I'm out of here.